I have to ask the host to give permission. Anyhow, it is my pleasure to welcome Chad Ross to the RDIEC, the Regina District Industry Education Council. Chad is a longtime farmer, cattle farmer, south of Estevan. Chad and his wife and family are huge into the 4-H and sustainable land and agriculture moving forward. Chad, it's my pleasure to welcome you here today, and you can take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, and appreciate being here today. Good day. And our operation is L7 Land and Cattle. We're located in Estevan, Saskatchewan, and we are a verified beef producer herd here, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. But we run about 500 mother cows currently, have been as high as 1,000 cows. Our feedlot operation, we have about 2,500 calves in our feedlot and surrounding the feedlot. We run on about 100 acres of land, both farming and pasture. Most of it's pasture and grass. We will farm about 2,000 acres this year for ourselves, and then we do some custom planting for corn as well. We currently employ 5 people full time, and we have 2 part-time people that join us when we need it. And plus, my wife and I, Crystal and I, we're partners in the business and very active in the business. I'm the 4th generation. Started by my great-grandfather Lester in 1904, and so we've been at this for well over 100 years, and this has been our operation. So we've been ranching a long time. So I guess you could say that it's in our blood, and in my blood for sure. You know, I went to college in the States and graduated with agriculture business down there in Nebraska, and got a corporate job right out of college where I run around as a sales manager as well as a beef specialist, both in the U.S. and Western Canada. And you know, I just couldn't wait to get back to the ranch. I just love the lifestyle. I love being close to nature. I love cattle, and it's just a great way to live and raise a family. So that's why I'm here back on the ranch. This is my family. Again, Crystal, my wife, and I, we own the business now. And, you know, the business, I'm the 4th generation with my wife. We've had to purchase the business from every generation. Every generation has had to do that. So with this business comes a lot of debt, and managing that debt and working through that. And hopefully we'll pass that on to the next generation. And those are my daughters, Cassidy and Carly there. This picture is a few years old now. They're both in university now. Cassidy's taking animal science at the University of Saskatchewan, and Carly's actually in psychology at the University of Saskatchewan. So that'll be a big help as well. So we're excited about that, and hopefully down the road they'd be interested in taking over the family business. You'll also see the dogs. We each have dogs, and we run about, I think it's 7 dogs here now. We use those dogs. They're working dogs, and they help with the operations of the ranch. And they love the work, and we like to say that each dog replaces two people around here. And so that's a lot of fun as well. This is a picture of the home quarters. This is the feedlot operation here. And this operation will hold about 2,500 calves in the feedlot and on the surrounding acres. We have 6 quarters surrounding the feedlot that we also grow corn on and run those cattle out in the wintertime. And then we have the corral systems as well. And so throughout this presentation, I'll talk about the feedlot, as well as I'll talk about the cow calf or the mama cows. Now the feedlot will hold the younger animals. So they'll be year-old and younger usually. And so those are the animals that need a little more, they need a little more feed, a little more grain or starch in their ration. So they're just not quite as tough as them mama cows that can get out and forage in the wintertime. And so it's good to keep them in the lot and in good pens as well, because as younger animals are just not used to everything, they're easily spooked as well. So having them out in the open is a bit of a challenge. They can get spooked and go through barbed wire fences and that type of thing. So it's nice to have good corral systems for that age of cattle. This is another picture of some older animals here in the feedlot. A nice day. They're coming to see what the drone's doing up above them here. But we try and grow the cattle, and we take them off their mothers usually in February, and we will try and grow them to about 900 pounds, and that's done through grass as well, and we'll move or market them in August and September. We also do buy other operations calves and bring them into the lot. So we will bring them in as weaned calves right off their mothers. We will give them a full vaccination program. We'll get them worked up onto feed, make sure they're happy and healthy and have bedding, and grow them to about 900 to 950 pound weight, at which time we will sell them to another feedlot, which will take them to the market weight of approximately 1,400 pounds. Just another picture of a building and this one side of the feedlot. So this is more of the cows, and I mentioned the feedlot and the mama cows. Feedlot holds the younger animals, and the mama cows, they're out in this type of situation in the summer and fall. They're out on grass. They're forage animals, so they're converting pastures and grass that we can't eat ourselves and utilize, and they're converting that into a wholesome product called beef. And so this type of acres, you'll notice that's Boundary Dam there in the background. In the fall, you can see the steam coming off it, but this is acres that's actually been mined for coal and then reclaimed and grass seeded back on it. And it's fairly rough, and there's no way a person could seed a crop in there like wheat or barley or canola. This has to be utilized in grass, and cows are the avenue to do that. They can take that and they can live on this grass, and they're good at doing it, and they're good at being out in the open. And then we go into the wintertime, and what we use, we keep the cows out again. They're not near the feedlot, they're out in the open. And here we've got corn and corn stubble and corn grazing. So there's about 500 pairs in this particular herd. And what we've done is we've gone ahead and fed them a supplement ration on the corn here today. And you'll see they're down eating a silage-based ration. Silage is a forage that I'll show you in further slides of how we take it off or harvest it. But anyway, this is the cows out in the wintertime, out on corn that was standing. They graze on the corn, as well as we do supplement them with some silage for protein. You'll also notice there's bigger animals and smaller animals in there. This is in the wintertime, and the calves are getting older by this stage, but they're still nursing on their mothers, and they'll be weaned here in a month or so from this picture. And here they are when they're born. We calve out in grass. So we calve with nature. We don't start calving till May the 15th. And those cows, they're expected to do it on their own, out in the open. And they're out getting exercise, they're grazing, getting good protein and from the grass. And they're usually in shape and able to calve on grass. The weather's nice. Those calves are happy and bouncy, and it's just a great time for us. We just couldn't manage it in the winter time with this many head. They'd all have to be inside where they'd be warm. So it works very well for us. If they do have calving challenges, we are able horseback to throw a rope around them and go ahead and assist them and help them with their calving troubles. Sometimes you'll have backwards calf, which means their back legs are coming first when normal presentation is their front legs and head coming first. Or they could be breech, which means their tail is coming first, and then you got to go in there and manipulate the calf, turn them, and help that cow have the baby. But that doesn't happen very often. Most cows will get it done on their own, and in fact, I haven't assisted a aged cow in several years. We do help heifers, which are the first time calvers once in a while, But other than that, they're fairly good at looking after themselves. This is another picture of a cow on grass. This is a very ideal cow in my mind. You know, her breed would be Simmental and Angus cross. And actually, this is a cow my daughter showed in 4-H. She's got a lot of length of body. She's correct on her feet and legs. Her udder is very sound and will last a lot of years. Just a good functional cow, and that's what we're looking for, is a cow that can look after herself, graze forage, keep in good condition, and raise pounds of beef. And so that's the business we're in. She looks very happy in those conditions there. So back to the feedlot. This is a feedlot pen, and we feed these calves just outside of the pen. So you'll see they have to reach through. We use a cable type situation. We call it a bunk, where we feed on the outside. That way we don't have to drive in with the calves. And here they're all up. They're happy. They're hungry. This is actually a pretty cold morning. She's 30 some below, and we fed these calves, and they want to eat. So they're up at the bunk eating this silage ration. And it's important to note that that's what cattle use to keep warm. So it's 30 below. They've got a stomach called the rumen that they fill with feed, and that rumen keeps turning, and it's just like a rumen. It's a digester, and it produces heat, and that's what warms them animals. So if they got lots to eat, they stay nice and toasty warm when it's 30 below. So here's another picture in the feedlot. These cattle are getting a little older now. They're getting close to when we would sell them, a weight that we would take them to. So you can tell that they're quite a bit bigger. And here I just want to talk about the verified beef program. And we're verified beef producers, and that means that there's a third party auditor that comes in and audits our operation to make sure that we're following the codes of conduct that are put in place for beef producers. So we're treating the cattle well, making sure they're happy, making sure they're looked after well. We're using safe handling procedures, as well as if we have to give antibiotics or injections, that's all documented. And if that animal goes into the food supply, the proper withdrawal times have to be in place before that animal can be marketed. So we keep track of all that. We have one person full time. That's all she does. She looks after keeping track of all the vaccinations and all the antibiotics we give, what we do to the cattle, and that's all the verified beef BBP Plus program that we use. Here's in the spring a feedlot picture, and you can tell it's starting to melt. It's getting a little bit muddy in the feedlot, but we make sure those cattle are bedded. You'll see the straw that they can get to the bedding, and make sure that they stay dry and can lay down and happy and healthy. And that's very important to us, that those cattle are healthy and happy, because if they're not going to gain, they're not going to grow. And that's what we need them to do for us to be profitable in this business. And here's a picture of some cattle that'll be very close to the end point. So these steers here would be weighing, in that 14, 15, 1,600 pounds, and they would be ready for harvest and ready to go to the food supply at this point. Just want to take a little time and talk about our processing program, and herd health is extremely important to us, and we have a full slate of vaccinations that we give to the calves. And as we're going through COVID here, we're all learning how important vaccinations are and disease. It's the same in cattle. We have to vaccinate these calves, or they are liable to get sick and die, and we can't have this. So this is a traditional, we call it calf processing, and this happens in the spring of the year. These calves are a month and a half old. We will rope them by the back legs, and we will pull them out to a group of people. These are all friends and neighbors. We all help each other out. That calf will be down about a minute, and you'll see everyone grouping around them. We're giving them vaccinations. We'll give him his identifications. We will castrate. We will also give him pain medication so he doesn't feel any pain. And within a minute, he's let up and he's off with his mama again. So it's very fast. It's very easy on the calves, but yet they get their vaccinations, which are extremely important in our business. Here's my wife, Crystal. And this is just a picture of her loading the syringe with vaccination. They get 2 different injections. One's a live virus for 5 different diseases, and then there's another one that's called an 8-way, which looks after 8 different clostridial diseases that they can get. So there's a lot of things they get in the 2 vaccines, and this is just a picture of us. And it's very important too when we're administering these vaccines that the temperature. If it's hot out, we got to keep those vaccinations at the right temperature. If it's cold out, we can't let them freeze. Otherwise, it's you don't even want to do it because the vaccines won't be any good. It will kill the vaccine. It's a live vaccine. Here's a picture of the processing day. You'll see the cows that are out in the open. They were in as pairs. We sort the cows off so that we can process the calves. We go into that pen on the right and with the horses, and we will pull the calves out of that pen into the group of people. And once they're done, they jump up and they're out with their mamas again and all back to normal. So once they get a little bit older, so the pictures before we talked about them as a month and a half old. So now we're into the fall and these calves are 4, 5, 6 months old, and we will do a booster vaccination again. So they'll be run through this chute, and we will give them their shots and vaccinations. And at this time, we will pour a dewormer on their back, which kills lice, as well as internal parasites, and just to keep that calf boosted and healthy going into the feedlot. And it's important to know that younger animals are susceptible to disease, where our older cows and animals, they're a little tougher. They can handle a little more disease, but the baby calves can't. They just haven't seen it in their lives. And so we got to make sure we vaccinate for that. And it's also important to note here that we use stress-free cattle handling systems. So there's no yelling, no screaming, no prods. We don't beat on these cattle. We want them healthy and happy, and we want them to have a stress-free experience as they come down the chute to get their vaccinations, and we try to do that as much as possible. So we'll get into some of the feeds and feedstuffs now. This is our feed truck. This is a truck that actually mixes all the feeds together. We'll have several ingredients depending on the year, what we use. So there might be grains, there might be hay, there might be straw, there'll be silage. That'll all get mixed into this truck. Now, how do we know what to put in there? We actually work with a nutritionist. That's a third-party nutritionist, comes in and he samples all our feeds, and they take nutritional samples of each of the feedstuffs. Then he compiles a balanced ration that is made up. And so every animal every day gets a balanced ration that has their starches, their proteins, their vitamins and minerals, all the same every day. And so it's just wonderful. I wish I had that for myself every day so I knew what I was eating and had a balanced ration. So the cows are actually getting better than what I'm getting. And so it's just a great way to, the other thing I want to point out is that cattle don't like change. They like the same ration every day. They want to eat the same thing every day. So it's important that is to the pound. There's a scale on that truck that weighs every pound, every ingredient into that. And each animal will get the exact same thing every day. So this is corn. This is corn in the early stages. We use a lot of corn here. It seems to grow well in this area. We have fairly high heat units comparatively to the rest of the province here at Estevan. We're around 2,400 heat units. So we switched from corn to barley from barley to corn, back in 2004. And it's been fairly successful, especially if we get some rain. So that's our main crop that we use right now. There it is a little bit further on the stage. It hasn't started the tasseling process yet, but still it's above my head by a foot or so. So a fairly good crop in this instance. So we'll take that corn, part of that corn in the fall, and here we've harvested it through a combine. And we actually take it high moisture, and we take that grain and we run it through what we call a roller mill. And that roller mill takes and it crushes that kernel. And if it's high moisture, it almost makes what looks like a cornflake, and just like you'd buy in the box from the grocery store. And so the reason we use a roller mill or have to process the grain is a cow cannot digest a whole kernel of corn. It has to be processed in some sort so that starch is available to the rumen of that cow. So it actually cracks that corn open. And if you crack a kernel of corn open, you'll see the white starch in between. And that's what the cow needs, is that white starch. So this is the process that we put it through, is called a roller mill. We then take that product and we put it in a big pile like this, and then we push it up with this tractor and blade into a pile. And because it's high moisture, it does pack, and we can drive on it. And the reason we want to pack it is we pack the moisture, or not the moisture, but the air out of that pile, and it goes through a fermenting process, but yet does not rot. So we want to get the air out enough that it won't rot completely. It'll go up to a certain temperature and then it'll cool right back down. And it makes a very nice smelling product that the cattle just love to eat. So the other process we do with the corn, the first one was harvesting it for grain. This one, we're harvesting it, taking the whole plant, and this is called silaging. So we take that plant, and that you'll see that one implement there, it's gobbling up that whole plant, cutting it off at the ground, taking it in, and it's chopping it into little pieces, and then it's blowing it into the truck. And then we haul that back to the feedlot where we make a pile and we pack it. So that's taken before it starts to die. There's still some moisture in it. We like to have it in that 50 to 60% moisture range, and that way, again, we can pack it and it'll ferment into that nice smelling product that cattle love to eat. Here again, this is silage. So we take it and those trucks haul it to the feedlot where it's dumped. And then this tractor and blade pushes it into a big pile. It'll be 10, 12, 14, 16 feet high in some cases, depending on the amount of feed we have. And we push it up, drive back and forth on it, pack the air out of it, and let it ensile or ferment into what we call silage. Here's another overhead picture of the silaging process. The corn chopper is taking the corn, gobbling it up, chopping it into pieces, and blowing it right into that truck, which will then take it away. This field here is about 7 miles from home. That's getting about as far as we'd like to be away from home, because we're hauling a wet product. After that, it tends to get a little bit costly per ton the further you get away from home. So when you're silaging, you want to be as close to home or the feedlot as possible with your land, just because of the cost of trucking. So here's a manure paddy, and you're going to ask, why am I putting this up there? But this is part of keeping cattle healthy and happy, and doing a good job as an animal husbandry person. You know, we watch the manure. And so part of watching the manure is making sure that manure is correct. And we want it to be the right color, the right consistency, make sure there's no health issues with that animal. We can tell a lot by just looking at the manure, how that animal's feeling, if he's getting the right balance of nutrients and all that type of thing. So part of being a rancher is not only looking at the cattle, but looking at the manure as well. So again, this is the cows again out in the corn in the wintertime. They're out in the snow, but they are just happy. They have the trees for shelter, you know, when the winds and the storms come, and they're grazing the corn out in the open. So they won't go into the feedlot at all, and that's where they want to be. They want to be out in the open. We do have wells for water out there. They do lick snow for water once in a while too. And yeah, so that's just a healthy and happy place for them to be. So that, I talked about being in the corporate lifestyle there for a few years after I went to university, and it's just ranching, just a wonderful way to raise a family. It's a great place to be close to nature. You're not in the hustle and bustle of the urban communities. You're out doing your own thing. My wife and I, we're our own bosses, and we love that about it. And it is hard work though. We work a lot of times 7 days a week and long hours, and and not for a lot of pay. The margins are small. It's a tough business. It takes a certain personality with perseverance, and but it's a way of life that we enjoy, and we really feel that it promotes values and morals that we expect and want to have, ourselves and our family. And we also like to pass that along to our 4-H community. My wife and I were both 4-H leaders and like to work with the youth in our community. And that's right in our mission statement, is to help the community and help the youth as much as possible and as much as we can afford with our time or our monies. So yeah, it's a nice way to live. We also try and give back to our industry as well. So for several years, I've sat on several boards, within our industry. And this is a picture of the Canadian Beef Checkoff Agency board, as well as the Canada Beef Board. So this is a national board. These are people from all across Canada that we meet to advise on the national checkoff, which is a dollar value that's taken off the sale of each animal across Canada. We then take that monies and we put it towards beef promotion, beef research, and promotion and marketing, excuse me. So it's a way for us to give back to our industry as well. And we feel if it's an industry worth being involved in, that we need to give back as much as possible. So with that, I think that's all I have, Jeff, and I'd sure be willing to take any questions that you have.
I have a couple of questions for you, Chad. So you have other people that work for you, and what do you look for qualities in those people that you would hire, to work on your farm? Like a kid from Estevan, for example, that maybe doesn't have the experience on the farm that your kids would have growing up with it. Would he be able to be trained, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I appreciate that question. Sure, it would be great to have some fundamental skills, but you know what? First of all, I look for just a quiet confidence. Someone that's not a know-it-all type person, but he is very confident in their personality, but quietly confident. I really appreciate those type of people. Honesty is huge for us. We have a lot of things around our operation. This is where we live, so we've got employees working right where we live, and so being honest with us, and with our tools and our equipment and our possessions, and just being able to talk to us and tell us when they made a mistake, so that we can get to the bottom of it and figure that out. Those are qualities that first and foremost I want. And then after that, being a team player, we're all a team. We got to work together. We got to pull together. We can't afford to have any nitpicking or side fighting or that type of thing. And it's hard work. So we can get strained, we can get stressed, and so we just got to work hard, pull together, and work together. But those are the qualities that first and foremost I look for.
Well, thank you so much, Chad. I think those are the values that everyone's looking for, and just the family life, the compassion that you showing, and the treatment of your cattle, the crops, the sustainability. Regardless of what anyone says, Saskatchewan is agriculture. And that's really the main issue and the main point moving forward is that we are cattle and grain farming here in Saskatchewan. Yes, there's oil and various things, coal and so forth, but this is the blood life of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the Prairie provinces is agriculture. And I feel very confident with folks like yourself moving forward and in control. Just a couple questions, reclaiming the coal land there. Would that be prairie loam that they are reintroducing?
Yeah, so that, prior to being mined, it would be a sandy loam, pretty good cropland, really. And so they peel back the topsoil. They would open pit mine it, and then they would push it back in the clay, and then put the topsoil back on. So it's going to take generations to get it back to where it was. And how to do that is with cattle, getting some grass on there and getting some organic matter back in the land is going to take a while, but by using rotational grazing and grazing methods, we can make that land more environmentally friendly after it's been mined. And so, as it is currently, it's got a shallow layer of topsoil on top, and then it's got the clay that was mined. So it does burn off and is not very drought tolerant at this time, but I feel that over the years, using cattle, we can make that land better.
Wonderful. Could you explain to the kids out there the benefits of prairie loam being an old adage grass and the protein value? Is it around 17? Would I be correct in saying that?
Well, the old prairie grass, so that'd be your native grasses that were here when the buffalo were here. They're wonderful grass, and they're made for this country. And yeah, the nice thing about the prairie grasses is after a frost or in the wintertime, those cattle do wonderful on it. It still holds its food value, and we say, I have an old saying that it's just like medicine in the wintertime for those cows. So we're an introduced grass or a planted grass. It will be very, very good in the summer months in the growing season. But once it browns off and dies off for winter, there's very little food value. So the old prairie grass is just wonderful.
Wonderful. So when they talk about broccoli faced different colors, various, I guess that affects market prices too. I hear people talking quite a bit. Can you explain that a little bit?
As far as the breeds, Jeff, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the different breeds will perform differently in different situations. So that'll affect price. So, for example, right now, a tan or a gray calf tends to bring a little more money because we just know those cattle will perform good in the feedlot. And the reason that is some of you may know that grain prices have gone up extremely high here in the last few months. And so it's going to cost more money to grow that calf because of the high grain prices. So as a result, we want an animal that performs as good as possible in the feedlot on that grain. So your different breeds like Charolais with a little more exotic, Simmental, they will grow a little bit better than say a straight British, which is your Hereford and Angus type animal. And your crossbreds do perform really well, like your Bronco face, like you mentioned, that's a Hereford Angus cross. And those type animals make really good mama cows. So a lot of them go back into the breeding herds again. And so there's all different purposes for different breeds, and they all have their different strengths that we appreciate on different levels of beef industry.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Chad. I'm not sure if anyone else has any questions, but you've just hit the curriculum from a curriculum viewpoint for the teachers out there in Saskatchewan and for the students. They can use this. It comes straight from the heart, and you're showing the farm. And again, I mean, that is the foundation of what Saskatchewan is. And I'm sure that there's many students out there watching this, and as the teachers will be able to use this in their curriculum. So yeah, I just can't thank you enough. And I see Kevin's there. We'll let him maybe ask a question.
I didn't have any questions. It was an excellent presentation, Chad. I really interesting. I've been around cattle all my life. I didn't know a bunch of that stuff, but of course, we used to have mixed farm when I grew up, but nothing like a big operation like yours. But that's interesting. Good job.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, so I think that's it, and we'll let you go. And thanks again. It was just so good. Your knowledge is beyond. I learned so much just watching. So take care and all the best moving forward. And I think I feel like a nice burger here at dinner, actually, with tomato and onion. So
Well, thanks, Jeff, for the opportunity. And, we're always open to tours or whatever. We are an open book with people, and we'd sure like to share our operation with people around. And so anytime anyone wants to stop by, we're sure welcome to do that.
well, that'll be so beneficial to the students and for the teachers to use in their curriculum. So take care and thank you again.